Hello there, I'm Kathleen Sherman. I am the host of this podcast, You're Not Crazy, You're Simply Divine. And I am interviewing Tonya Henderson, which is so amazing. She is the facilitator and the artist that did all of the book cover for my beautiful book, You're Not Crazy, You're Simply Divine. And this podcast is geared towards the people who helped me on my path and who are a part of this book. And she's such an amazing artist, beautiful lady. Tonya, welcome and thank you for being with me today.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
You're so welcome. I'm so excited to talk about, your light language and your artwork, what you do, your awakening. Can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, what you do, and maybe some tips and tricks for them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I create personal energy portraits, which is basically a reading on canvas. And as a painter, I was just drawn to do that after a little bit of nudging, we'll say. Gentle nudging.
Yeah. So what was that like when you first started? I know the book's about my crazy awakening, and I want to kind of showcase you and what happened with you. And so what happened with you to get you to that gentle nudging? What happened?
Well, I'd been painting energy for years, and I didn't have a real good vocabulary for it in the beginning. And so I was finding it really challenging to communicate with people and explain what it was I was doing. And it got to the point where, I just gave up. I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. I don't know what I'm going to do. I completely really went into a moment of surrender where I literally gave up any ideas of what it was I was supposed to be doing, how I was supposed to be doing it, where I was going with anything in my life, everything. I let go of everything. And it was very quickly after that where things started to happen for me. And that brought all of the painting back together with the readings that I had been doing prior and made it one thing. So it unified everything about me and about the work I was doing in the world. It also gave me a way to be of service to others. And when you combine, what you love to do and who you are authentically with, service, everything seems to work out, So that was like a little bit of that awakening. I mean, there's a lot more to it. I know that there's a lot of people who look at awakening like it's a moment in time that you just have all this great awareness, but I feel like it's a journey of unfoldment rather than one moment. I think that's maybe one of the biggest misconceptions, is that you have this grandiose moment of complete awareness and awakening, and it just sticks with you for the rest of your life. And I think it's a little different than that. It's an ebb and flow. It's a journey of unfoldment. And so from that moment of thinking, all right, well, I'm gonna try this, which I did. I just put it out on my Facebook page. Hey, I need some guinea pigs to come to my studio, and I'm going to try this thing, and you'll be able to walk home with a piece of art. No strings, not asking for any money. I just want to try it and see what happens. And when I did that, I had about half a dozen people show up, and one after another, I did these little readings where I was sketching out the images that I was seeing in my mind. And it was incredibly magical. Not just to me, but to the people who were sitting there. Mm-hmm. And so I knew I had to continue doing that in some fashion. I know I'm an acrylic painter. I was starting out with sketching, and I had a lot to overcome and really think through the process of how I was going to be able to do this in a short amount of time with a medium that requires water, Yeah. So doing that at expos or whatever was a little challenge, things to overcome. But I had it in my mind at that point that everything is figure outable. If you really feel like you're being driven to do a certain thing, the way is going to be made. And so I just kept looking for things that would make it better. How can I make this better? How can I make this easier? How can I make it a better experience? And so it was kind of a journey, both of awakening into, you know, my gifts, because I joke around, like I went to metaphysical group for 25 years and saw everyone else as having their little specialties, you know, tarot reader, homeopathy, reflexology, an herbalist, and everybody came together and shared their gifts. And I just came together because I was like, I don't know what my thing is, you know? And I did that for 25 years before I figured it all out, before everything came together. Because I thought my life had to look a certain way for it to be good or successful or right or whatever. And the universe was like, that isn't it, not for you.
So you're such an inspiration. You're such an inspiration, because it took me a while, and I know I just kind of bummed around and went to metaphysical shops and just looked around at crystals. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing here, but and you know, for it to take that long, but you never gave up, did you? You never gave up that hope.
I didn't until that moment of surrender. And that moment of surrender, I was like, I don't care what I do from this point forward. I just know that what I'm doing hasn't been working. It's not working the way I always thought it would, and things aren't falling into place the way they should. And it was a struggle. And it was just fighting against the current, really, is what it was. And I didn't know that at the time until I had that moment of surrender, and peace just flooded into me. And that was just one of the moments, you know, that were really unique along the journey of awakening. But in that moment, I understood surrender in a way I could never have comprehended before that. But it is absolutely letting go of all your resistance around everything in your life and being completely open to whatever comes next. And when I got to that point, everything in my life has changed. Everything is easier. There's no big struggle. In fact, I know that when I'm feeling a little bit of struggle, that's the time that I have to put everything away and just go take a nap, or you know, find my space of letting go of resistance again.
Yes. And being vulnerable, I think that's what most people don't want to be, is they don't want to be vulnerable, because in this day and age, that's not always a great thing. But doing this type of work, if you're trying to push against the grain, if you're trying to push that door open that's just slammed shut, you're never going to get there, because you're not being guided there. It's not flowing in that direction.
Right. There's a little bit of, you know, you have to have some sort of dream or vision or something that you want for yourself. And at the same time, disconnect from the outcome. Like, I don't care how I get this. I don't care how this unfolds for me. I don't care what it looks like. Because I think in my mind, I had such a grasp on the vision that I had been holding, that I wasn't allowing it to unfold in any other way. And letting go of that idea of what it looked like to be a successful artist. And then the doors just open wide. Like, it gets me all emotional, because I had no idea what I was doing to myself, you know? You're doing it to yourself. All of us are. But then when you let go of that, and how the flood of opportunities and new ways of thinking about, well, what the success actually is. And really, when I stood in that moment and realizing that, I could look back over my life and say, the whole thing has been a success. I just didn't know it. I never gave myself enough credit for anything I had done.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so glad you did, because you do such an amazing job. Your light work shows it. It brings people, it draws people in. And when it draws people in, it helps elevate them as well. So, you know, kudos to you for sticking with this for so long. My awakening tended to be really quick. I think that I chose to wait to have it happen until my kids were outgrown and stuff. But then I got bombarded quickly, boom, 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 but still had such a hard time when it was happening to me, because I didn't understand. And if somebody's really fumbling with it, what are things that you would recommend for them to do in their life?
Well, like you say, you know, you're not crazy. Number one, you have to realize that you're not crazy. Just because you're thinking differently than everybody else, or seeing things differently than everybody else, or feeling compelled to do something different than everybody else, doesn't mean you're crazy. It just means that you are probably more attuned to your inner being or your higher self, and you're just being guided down a path that's different than the status quo. And really, all of the magic in life is outside of that status quo. And you know, there was a lot of awakening pieces that did come quickly when they came. But at the same time, you know, I had 20 years of experience in the metaphysical realm and exposure to all kinds of people doing all kinds of things over that 20 years. And so when things started happening to me, and I mean, like, you know, I could hear the trees talking to me, and I was dictating a story from a character in the yard, which ended up being a chipmunk. And I had a bizarre out-of-body experience. And I had this incredible anointing that took place. And I was channeling how to build a medicine wheel and hold a ceremony. And it was just one thing after another, but it was for an extended period of time. So there was a big time of learning, and then a couple of years of unfoldment of this grand vision of how the world actually works. I took all the things I've been learning all those years, and all the puzzle pieces started coming together. I understand the world in a way that I just could never have comprehended before. And all of that now gets put into the work that I'm doing. I am utilizing the healing work that I've done through the portraits. And so when somebody sits with me, they get up having had a little mini healing, and they feel better. They don't often know why they feel better, because I don't really talk about that when I'm talking about the portraits. I'm talking more about, you know, the artwork and what the symbols mean and the colors mean, and a little bit about the sacred geometry. I throw that little bit of stuff in there. And so they walk away with a little bit of knowledge about themselves, and you know, maybe what a color means, and you know, if you want to attract that energy, wear it, you know, bring that energy to you. And that whole series of unfoldments has led me to a place where now I'm living in the magic, you know, of life, the magic unfoldment of having a thought like, wouldn't it be nice if, and then having that if show up into my life. Yes. And it's such an ease. I think the thing to do, I think the best thing I could say to anybody is look for the ease in things, and know that when you're in any amount of struggle, you're fighting against the flow. And we want to be downriver. One of my favoriteest sayings, song, or whatever, however you want to me, it's like a motto, is row, row, row your boat. Okay? Row your boat. not your partner's boat, not your kids' boats, not your parents' boats, not your sister's boats, not your friends' boats. Row your boat. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Gently downstream. Not upstream, not in a hurry, with ease downstream. Just be in the flow. So row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 merrily. In other words, enjoying yourself. Find the joy. Enjoy every moment of it. And life is but a dream. And it truly is just a dream. And one day we'll all go to sleep and wake up into a larger reality. And we call that death. So to me, you know, death has a whole new meaning now too. I experienced 3 deaths in 1 week. So in a 2-week period, I had 3 people in my life pass away, and was at 3 funerals. And I found myself being the comfort for everyone around me, because I did not feel the same as I had ever felt prior to that about death. It's a releasing, it's a letting go of your resistance. And when you transition, you no longer have any of that resistance, and you just fall into the magic automatically. Well, wouldn't it be great if you could fall into the magic before you reach the end of your life?
That's absolutely beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And it's so true too. And when somebody passes, it's still hard, but you have like a different view on it. You have it's like when people pass now, I'm like, oh, aren't they lucky? Like I kind of think of it that way, because I know what it's like there, because I go journey there all the time. And I think that's what we kind of feel, that we feel that divine light, that we come here and we kind of get disconnected from, and, you know, with our amnesia coming into the physical body. And so when you start to open back up to that, it's like, whoa, what is that? Oh, that feels really nice. And so, yeah, I totally agree with you on that. It's like, it's still hard to miss them, but they're, you know, it's like my mother would come and stand next to me when I was working at the place I talked about in the book. She would come up and stand next to me, and she had a song play that said, I'm standing right next to you. You just can't see me. It's just like, just open your eyes, open your third eye, basically. Allow yourself to see me, because I'm literally standing right next to you. There's just a wall of, you know, through the dimensions that I couldn't, but I could feel her, and I knew she was there, and I could see her in my mind's eye. Right. So it's like, yeah, it's different.
Grief is natural. And I'm sure when we lose someone really close to us, it's going to be a painful process to go through. But there's a couple of things to know about that. One is, you're deciding how long it's going to take you to get through it, right? Sure. You can say that mourning takes, you know, I need a whole year, or I need 5 years, or I need 6 months, or I need 30 days. It's really literally up to you how long you are going to travel that. Within that story will say, yeah, that this is hard and I miss them and I can't get over it. Yeah. I don't think you ever really get over it, but you learn to live life in a different way. And yes, I've had a lot of people who can communicate to others on the other side, lose someone very close to them, and then wonder why they can't hear them. Why can't they communicate with that person? That's the one person they wish they could communicate with. Mm-hmm. And the truth to that is just the fact that when you are feeling grief, you cannot connect. The grief holds you separate, because you are in a belief system that says that they are gone and cannot be reached when you're in grief. So when you can say to yourself, okay, I've grieved long enough, I'm going to move on now, and you start letting go of the resistance around that, then you will start to communicate with them, because they have gone nowhere.
They haven't. Yeah. And they're right next
but
to you.
But they are everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Always available.
Always available. Tonya, and I'm doing these short so we can do them short and sweet, but I want you to talk about things that you offer to people to help them on their journey and how they can get a hold of you.
Right. So I offer like spiritual life coaching. So if somebody is struggling with something, I will do some coaching with them and mentoring with them to help them like hone in on what the belief system is and how to like soften and correct that into a path that makes them feel better. I also on occasion will do some healing work, but I mean, I feel like everything that I do involves that healing work. So it's not like a specific, just come for this healing. It's wrapped in the portraits I do. It's wrapped in the counseling I do. And I also am a business coach for other artists. So I help them determine how to get to that point, which we talked about earlier, about becoming your authentic self and bringing all the parts of yourself together into one thing, and learning, how to take what you do and make it so that you're being of service in some way to other people, because that's the missing ingredient. And then how to build their business and earn a living or a good income off of the artwork that they're doing. And this May, I'm starting the next portion of that. At the end of May, beginning of June, I'm offering a intuitive painting course where you can come in and have that experience of allowing the flow to move through you and tapping into your soul and higher self, and how to receive the messages and how to, interpret those messages. What do they mean to you? And really develop that ability of connection to yourself. It's sort of in connection with the building of the artist, the mentoring of building a business around that. But that portion could be for anybody. You don't even have to know how to paint or how to draw, because we're tapping into intuition and we're getting into the flow of creativity, and we're allowing the universe to work through us. That's what you're learning. And when you can do that, then you know how to connect to your own inner being and your higher self, or your spirit guides, or whatever terminology you want to use around that, and be more in harmony with yourself, the larger part of who you are. So both of them are very exciting.
That's so awesome. Are those going to be in person only or online? How are you going to do that?
So it's sort of a twofold. So right now, the intuitive painting, that's going to be in person. I really need to be able to work with a number of people through this. I'll probably do this for a couple of years before I go and move it onto line, because I want to make sure that I understand everything that people are going to be needing, and the different ways that people receive things, and what's the best way to translate all that, and then package it so that it's understandable online. But the other part of it, if you're an artist and you're wanting to grow a business with your paintings, that is online with online coaching.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much for all of your amazing artwork, all the light that you shine out into the world, the assistance you're giving to help others on their path. And you are truly an inspiration to me. And thank you so much for collaborating with me. And she did this amazing artwork on my book with light codes and light energy. And by the way, this is the front of the book. And do you want to just do a little quick explanation of what all this means?
Right. Okay. So there's a really beautiful saying about the lighthouse, and that is, a lighthouse does not run up and down the shore waving its arms saying, "I'm over here, look out, I'm over here." It stands in one place, shining its light, a beacon to the sailors, right? That this stays safe come here, watch the light. And that's what we need to do. Instead of trying to run around thinking that we're saving the world or we could help everybody, we can't do that. It's impossible. It's not even really needed or required. So the idea is to stand firm in your frequency, your vibration, and shine the light so that those who need what you offer can find you. Mm-hmm. And if you're running up and down the shore, they can't find you because they're heading your direction and then you move away. So you have to stand firm, which is what you're doing, right? And that's kind of what your book is about. And then there's a butterfly in there, and that's transformation, because it's a huge transformation when you go from believing that the world is hard and you got to work hard and there's struggle and everything, and things don't always work out. You know, you got to be ready for the things that go wrong in the world, and into a space where you know that you're guided, you're protected, everything's working out for you. It's a transformation, and the butterfly represents that transformation. So those are two of the main things that are going on there. There is also that beautiful, like, mandala sort of thing going on in the design work. And within that are the symbols of the angels and the guides. Mm-hmm. I think maybe what you're calling the light language, you know. Mm-hmm. This is the connection that we find that we end up having when we do cross that from what was into what's happening, what's becoming, and start living from that space. And these angelic beings are there to help guide us and help us raise the frequency of the planet, and so that everyone can enjoy what this newfound beautiful life that we have, that other people can find that too. Mm-hmm. So,
and thank you so much. Yeah. And I see in my future definitely doing more and collaborating with you, because you're amazing. And I appreciate it.
Well, I thank you for that.
Thank you.
I can't wait. I'm really excited to see what you do next.
Me too. Actually, I'm getting it. So we'll see, but pretty soon I'm going to be doing a mediumship course that coincides with my second book. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Mediumship, the way that I connect in, which was a natural way, just popped in, and I'm like, holy crap, what's that? So people who are more like a natural medium, where it just starts coming to them. So this is like, nobody knows this yet. So breaking news.
Fantastic.
So I'll probably start working on that pretty soon. When they say, all right, go do it. With this book, it was funny because all of a sudden I had numerous people that said, you're going to write a book. And then I heard, go write the book now. My schedule went blank. Everybody canceled like one day, just about but like one person. And they said, go sit, like even a whole weekend got canceled. And they said, go sit down and start writing. And I'm like, what am I writing? And they're like, your book. And I'm like, about what? This is how it works. I just kind of wait till they guide me. And that's rowing your boat, you know? And then all of a sudden I sat down and I go, I don't know how to write a book. I tried to download, which was funny. I downloaded one course on how to write a book, basically it was more on the, how to write a hook and things like that, you know, how to get people's attention. And then I went to download another one to take another class, or look, every time I would try anything else, it wouldn't work. The payment wouldn't go through, nothing worked. So I went, well, that's where the stop came. And I went, the door closed, and I went, okay. And they go just sit down and just write. We're just going to tell you what to write. And I sat down and I go, all right, what am I writing? And they said, your story. And then they lined it up and they said, okay, now you're going to do 11 chapters. Each one's going to have a channeled meditation or journey for the person to help them on their journey. And the reason for the whole book in the first place was to talk about my story and then explain to them, see, I thought I was crazy, thought they were going to have to throw me in the loony bin. I really did. And then here's my experience, and here's the scary stuff that I went through. And here's what you can do if you run into some of those situations. and then the experience of what I actually did, which wasn't the greatest. So at that time, it's the guidance that I needed that I was really struggling to find, and I did find it, but it took a while. So just like you, I was struggling in the dark, and this is to help people move along faster than what you took longer. I took not as long, but it still seemed like it was long and treacherous, you know?
Well, I think what the difference really is that none of it was really that scary for me, because I'd had 20 years of learning about all the things, you know, metaphysical world and how things operate and how other people receive and all of that, that I was way better prepared for when it unfolded. And so I wasn't like having an experience and being in fear around it, or having what the difference is that when it happened, I understood what was happening, and I had to take time to integrate that. And then another thing would happen, and I would take time to integrate that until I finally came to a place where, like, now I have, and I know this isn't the end. Okay. There's never an end to this unfoldment. No. But I've gotten to a place where I know so much more now, because you can't really know something unless you have the experience. You can read about it. You can, you know, I could connect with all these people and know what they're doing and what their experiences were. And I can read books and I can know things intellectually, but until you actually have the experience, you don't know it to the degree where at that point you can never go back. Once you know it experientially, you can never go back to living your life the way that you did before.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. Cryon, and what just popped into my mind was Cryon, which is Lee Carroll, Kryon. They're on, you can find him on YouTube. Amazing channeler. He says, you just don't know what you don't know. And you just don't until you experience it. Yeah. And I used to make total fun of my sister for doing sweat lodges, and also she did. Sorry, Cindy. But, and then eventually I'm like, oh, this stuff has the, you know, this is real. Okay. Well, you know, at that time of my life, I couldn't hear it. And she was doing this stuff. I was like, okay, she's doing her thing, whatever, you know, kind of made fun of her back in the day. Yeah. And then once I started awakening and experiencing things just out of the blue, you know, it was like, holy crap, this stuff is real. And so. Right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been so much fun. What's your website? Did you talk about your website so they can find you? No, actually it's Tonya-Henderson.com. That's where you can find me, and it links to everything else that you need to know. Sounds great. And I'll just throw out there on the Hearts of Change Collective, which I'm a part of. We also did a really long interview with Tonya, and it's got a lot of her artwork on there, and all talks about a lot more detail. If you want more information, just go onto the Hearts of Change Collective on Facebook and pull it up and watch it. It was a really, really amazing video with a lot of her artwork on there. So featured. So awesome. Thank you so much. It's been a wonderful, you're such a blessing to me. And I thank you for all of your endeavors with me for now and in the future. Yes. Awesome. All right. Y'all have a good day. Thanks for having me. Thank you. You're welcome. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.